From the sidelines on 1580 KGAL.
Sammy Hagar taking us into our From the Sidelines hour. Sammy Hagar's dreams. Dreams of a prosperous new year. Dreams of being able to park ourselves in front of microphones for an hour and talk sports. The latter being realized right now, and the former still hopeful. Still waiting on that big lottery win. We'll see if 2013 is prosperous. From the sidelines, I'm Wally Ordeman, sitting in for the vacationing Radio Ray. Joined Dave Adams with me on the board, and joined, as in previous times, by Jerry Bomey, who has graciously stepped away from his CPA practice for an hour to talk sports with me. Good morning, Jerry.
How you doing?
Yeah, I am well. Good holidays?
Oh, very good. Very good.
A little disappointment that you got me exactly the same thing for Christmas that you got me last year.
Again, consistency is important.
Didn't even wrap it. Do you want to tell our listeners what you got me for Christmas?
No, go ahead.
It was nothing. It was nothing. I was looking under the tree. There was absolutely nothing from Jerry.
The box was good, though.
Yeah,
just empty.
It was. But great to be here with you to talk sports. We've got a lot of ground to cover, Jerry. We've got we're going to, at the bottom of the hour, we're going to be talking with Craig Terrell from the Seahawks. The end of the year lends itself to talking about kind of a review of the year in sports, and so we certainly want to go there. I'm going to start off with the Beavs, though. The Beavs in the Alamo Bowl tomorrow, 3:45, I believe, is game time. And first of all, just your initial thoughts. What's your gut say about tomorrow's game?
Well, I think the Beavs have played obviously very well all year. They're playing a team that I think is eminently beatable. Texas not having a great season. From what everybody has said, a great environment down in San Antonio. A great place to visit. A great opportunity, although I am glad to hear that the weather's 40 degrees there like it is here. That encourages me with some of the people that are down there that they are really not missing the Northwest weather.
Yeah, that's I am really anticipating that to be a good game, and I really think Oregon State's going to win that game. I have this feeling that Oregon State's going to do it.
Well, I think that they are they've got a lot of balance, and I think that obviously they throw the ball a lot, but their running game has improved a lot on the offensive side. Two receivers that I think are as good as any tandem in the country. Defensively has probably been their biggest improvement over the last couple of years, and they've been fairly consistent over the last 3 or 4 or 5 games on the defensive side of the ball. I agree with you. I think it's a good opportunity for them.
Yeah, it really something to me, and I think I mentioned this last week when Ray and I were talking about this, that really something I think that both teams announced their starting quarterbacks. And what's unusual, I should have said that the other way, unusual that two teams playing in a bowl game would get to a point where they actually have some question as to who their quarterback's going to be in the bowl game.
Well, you'd like to have some consistency at that position, and I think that the only thing that's really happened is it's been very inconsistent for both teams, and they've kind of shuffled a couple of guys for both teams in and out of the lineup, and I think that to announce it at a bowl game, obviously that late in the season where you don't have that position set is unusual.
Yeah, Beavers going with Cody Vaz, and certainly Mannion will be waiting in the wings in case something goes haywire with that. They hit any speed bumps or injuries, which you certainly hope wouldn't happen. But Oregon State tomorrow afternoon. You're going to watch where? Where are you going to be?
We got some friends that are actually going to smoke some ribs and probably have some other accessories available, and going to be able to sit on the couch and enjoy it with some Beaver fans.
Oh, excellent.
Is that legal? Smoking ribs?
Smoking ribs.
Well, I think it is in Washington. I didn't see the whole law.
which Washington is where I'm headed to watch the Beaver game. I'll be up with some college buddies watching in Seattle.
Smoking ribs.
We're not going to smoke ribs. We're not going to smoke anything. Just for the record, we don't need to sully any reputations on this show, so that's just not going to happen. But headed up to Seattle to watch the game with some buddies. So
that'll be a great weekend.
It'll be a great time. We're going to be talking with Craig Terrell a little bit later, and I'll be letting him know I'll be bunking at his house when I get up there. So no, actually, we've got a place to stay. Hey, Jared, we need to talk about some sports moments improvements over the course of the year. We can come back to Beavs a little bit later, possibly, but with 2012 coming to a close, I did a little bit of research looking at what the AP and what CBS, just the two that I happened to spot right away, talking about their top 10 news stories. Not necessarily the best things that happened in sports, but the things that were most notorious or most just notable. Yeah, I think that's probably right. And so I thought maybe we'd dive into that a little bit. Really something that both these polls I looked at, both of the number one stories for 2012 in sports. Do you want to guess?
Absolutely, it's got to be Penn State.
It is Penn State, and the Jerry Sandusky issue and the cover up of everything that went on with Penn State, and that was not only the top story in 2012, it was always also the top story in 2011, and it just shows the broadness and of that story and the impact that it's had. But and certainly we don't need to beat a dead horse on that issue. Certainly not my intent today. But I think probably what's a huge subplot to that is the resurgence of Penn State football this season. And how well they have done. They started off cold. They lost, I think, their first two, and then they started winning football games. This is a team that had so many punishments come their way because of this scandal, that the punishments handed down to them looked like they'd be absolutely crippling to this football program. And then they started winning football games. It's a huge story to me.
It's amazing because that tells you what chemistry does on a team. They lost some really good football players that went to different teams and didn't want to be a part of that rebuilding.
Right. Green light, once the punishments came, green light for these players to go to any school they wanted to without having to sit out a year.
Absolutely. And for them to be able to pull that together is a truly a big story. I agree with you. The punishment, the problem I have with the NC2A is they're punishing kids that had nothing to do with any of the stuff that went on, and a bowl ban for 4 years, and reducing scholarships from 25 a year to 15 a year, I think. And some of those other things are really too bad for those kids that are at the college currently. But credit to them. Just a huge story.
Absolutely. And Ray made the point on this show several times that that punishing the football team for these kinds of for this issue in particular was too punitive to the actual student athletes who had nothing to do with what had gone on. And I understand the NCAA has to have leverage somehow, and the school certainly was going to do some things, some self-discipline, but to see them rebound, just like you said, is just absolutely phenomenal to me.
Well, the thing I would rather see these schools go to bowl games and then have to donate the money so that they don't benefit financially themselves. But still, those kids that had nothing to do with it are being able to be rewarded for the experience of a bowl game or something along those lines. Just amazing, though. Just amazing how they ended up there. I think that they were actually an Ohio State win away from winning the whole Big 12 conference.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Or Big 10, I'm sorry.
Tough to keep track of all of, I don't know. It's like Big 72 now or something like that, I think. But bowl proceeds, I understand what you're saying about the proceeds from a bowl. Bowl proceeds typically are shared by the entire conference, so it'd be their share possibly of what might come along from a bowl. But we're still talking millions of dollars.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and donate that to causes that would, child abuse type causes and things like that.
Well, how would you like to be a football player in the 90s at Penn State, and instead of going, 46-3 over your 4-year career, you ended up 0-49?
Right.
Yeah. I thought I still won. I got the bad knees to prove it, but not so much.
Right. And several surgeries, yes, no doubt. And concussions.
Yes.
And concussions from that. And the reason I say that is concussions are on this list of top 10. The concussion issues and specifically to the NFL and suicides that follow. And the impact of concussions and the correlation between injury and wear and tear on the body and subsequent then suicides. And I found that really interesting that football concussions on this AP poll was number 4.
That surprises me.
Yeah. I would have. I could see that making the top 10. Now, again, these aren't highs and lows of sports. These are just the most notable sports stories as voted by pollsters or by people,
and I think that's because pro football is such a huge part of the American fiber now. People watch the NFL, right. And I think that probably leads to the concussions, and now what's the trickle down to colleges and then high school and Pop Warner, and I think that's probably where they would be going with that and the safety issues.
No question, and the listenership and the viewership of NFL football certainly at the top, specifically or particularly this time of year. Fantasy football has certainly helped to drive that resurgence too of the NFL. I just wanted to make sure you were aware that you are still on my fantasy football team.
I really appreciate that. I think that my scoring's probably been down a little bit.
I tried
from perhaps a few decades ago.
I tried to trade you, but there were no takers. Number 2 on this list, and again, I'm with the AP poll here for top stories of the year in sports, 2012. Penn State number 1, Lance Armstrong number 2 on that list, and his fall from grace and stripping of the 7 Tour de France titles.
I think what you have there must be a negative list, because I certainly would put him on the list, just not at number 2. I think that all of his clean drug tests, all of the proof that he had over the years that was actual physical proof to maintain his innocence kind of came crumbling down when person after person after person that he rode with, that he was associated with, was lining up against him.
Yeah.
And he, from there, whether he did the right thing or not, boy, he certainly didn't stand up and explain exactly what was going on.
Yep, no doubt. NFL bounties, number 3. And the issue with the New Orleans Saints and you're crossing off your list.
You're hitting all my negatives here. Actually, the bounty gate in New Orleans has obviously had a huge impact on their team. Not having their head coach, not having a couple of their defensive players. Did that go on? Absolutely, I'm sure it did. Has it gone on for years? Absolutely, I'm sure it does. And to penalize a team, especially to the extent where you're taking their head coach out of play, was a huge step by the NFL.
Yeah, no doubt. You made a really good point and about the negative on these stories, and the top 4 are all negative. Penn State, Lance Armstrong, NFL bounties, and football concussions. It's not till number 5 that we get to a positive one. That's the London Olympics. Oh. And which was high on my list as well, and we're going to get a chance to talk about our own particular list, but the London Olympics, certainly viewership very high for that, and some very compelling stories coming out of the Olympics.
When we talked last, the Olympics was actually going on, I think, and we had some discussions about some of the different events and stuff, and for it to be positive, I can't believe that you put the Olympics in a positive light when they had such a big brouhaha about the badminton game fixing that went on, and truly a negative spot in the Olympics. When you're fixing badminton games, matches.
Did they ultimately call that Shuttlegate? You like that?
That's not bad. That's not bad. That's so once again, I'm crossing the fixing of the badminton tournament off my negative list.
Okay, fair.
The Olympics was, I thought, was as compelling a positive thing. Overall, there are obviously a lot of really individual items that made it fantastic, but the Olympics was truly one of the highlights, I thought, for the year in sports.
I agree, and for myself as well, and I don't know if it was just the timing of the broadcasts or my ability to watch more of it this year, but I found myself daily looking forward to watching not only the highlights from the Olympics, but watching the events, spending 2 hours sitting in front of the TV watching. My grandson got into it with me. We got to. Well, we didn't get into it. We didn't argue or anything, but got to watch a lot of that together while we were on vacation. Just a real positive thing for me. And what I found was some of the events in previous years that I hadn't paid a whole lot of attention to, I did watch this year. Long events like the marathon and those kinds of events, ones that take a lot of time. I thought were covered really well, and I found those more compelling this time.
And I don't know what it is about the Olympics specifically, but there are things like a marathon that you absolutely would never watch ever. But in the Olympics, you do. The semifinal of the women's soccer against Canada was probably one of the best. If there is such thing as a best soccer game, it was.
Hey, now your daughter plays soccer.
Absolutely, and the reason I was sitting right there watching it with her, but the competitiveness and the excitement that was generated and the crowd that was there, those kind of events that do last a longer period of time. I found myself as well watching the majority of that.
And one other ingredient before I move on this list is the fact that supposedly, and it's not so much this way anymore, and I'm well documented in my professional versus amateur argument here, but the Olympics are about amateur sports, and I do like that aspect of the Olympics. It's why I've liked it my whole life, because of the lack of professional athletes, and that's certainly not the case when it comes to the basketball and some of the other events, but I do like the amateur angle to what the Olympics bring.
And I think that the majority of those athletes are maybe there's some professional runners in track or whatever, but their whole goal is every 4 years. Right. And it doesn't matter whether they can eke out a living to be able to compete during the off years. But you have some of those people like Karani James, that won the 400 meters from Grenada. That's an island with 170,000 people, something like that. And he wins the Olympics. You got the Blade Runner from South Africa. You've got those kind of stories that you don't see in professional sports.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Going to quickly move on. We're going to need to go to a break here in just a very short time here. College football playoffs, number 6. The discussion of the stories that have come out about starting in 2014 about the playoffs in college football. Well,
the BCS has totally ruined my New Year's Day. I used to get up at 8 o'clock. I'd turn on the TV, go over to some friend's house, and he'd have 3-4 TVs set up, and we would sit there all day and absolutely be a couch potato watching all the events or all the bowl games that are on. Now they spread it out over 2 or 3 weeks. They're going to go to a playoff system.
That's a lot longer time to be a couch potato.
Oh, absolutely. And, I find that financially to go to, we were talking before the show about going down to San Antonio for a game. What do you do now? Do you go to the semifinal game?
Right.
Or do you go to the final game? How does that work out for the fans of the different colleges?
Yeah, great
I don't know.
Point. Great point, because most people are not able, willing, or can afford to go to subsequent games week after week after week anywhere else in the country.
Well, and I think what they're going to try to do is make it a Super Bowl type environment,
right,
that the championship game is around.
Sure.
And
which is what they're trying to do with the BCS championship.
Yes.
Now. Yes. Yep. No question. Replacement officials, number 7. I'm not even going to go there, Jerry. The Giants winning the Super Bowl. Number 8. Pat Summitt retiring from Tennessee, and her initial battle now and diagnosis with Alzheimer's. That's number 9. And number 10, this really surprised me, Peyton Manning's resurgence. Him going to the Denver Broncos and fighting off the neck surgeries and him coming back to be quarterback of the Broncos, number 10.
I think, once again, that's a reflection of how popular the NFL is. Everybody knows who Peyton Manning is that follows any sort of sports. Certainly would not have been in my list of the top 10 of things that I see going on. But it is amazing. That's a guy that they thought perhaps was never going to play again, and then to come out and play at the level that he has really surprised myself, as well as I think everybody else in the country.
Yeah, two points here. 2 Mannings in the top 10. Giants winning the Super Bowl and Peyton Manning, his resurgence. And the other point being that we all know that polls are 100% accurate all the time.
Well,
having just come out of the political season.
Only when you get to weigh in on them are they correct.
Yeah, that's right. And weigh in we do. We're going to take a break here. We're from the Sidelines. Radio Ray on vacation. I'm Wally Ordeman, joined by Jerry Bomey. We're at 1580 KGAL, and we're going to take a break. Be right back.
The customs of Christmas. The customs of Christmas take on a special flavor as varied and colorful as the people who enjoy them. I'll tell you about Christmas in the colonial South in a moment.
Happy holidays from the Lebanon Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center. We are excited to bring Lebanon 2 major events in the first quarter of 2013. Watch for the Community Distinguished Service Awards March 12th at the River Center and the very popular Biz Expo April 16th, also at the River Center. Our chamber staff, Mary Kim and I, Shelley Garrett, thank you for your continued support and encouragement. Have a prosperous, safe, and blessed New Year.
The customs of Christmas in the Old South echoed with the warmth of social gaiety and hospitality. Fox hunting, music, dramatics, decorating with greens, a Yule log, and a feast more elaborate than any other of the year were part of the season. The colonial South retained many English customs and much of England's graciousness. A typical menu for the groaning board, as the festive meal was called, included roast beef, ham, wild turkey, duck, venison, greens, cabbage, corn, and plum pudding. Feasting and festivities extended from Christmas Eve to Twelfth Night. Christmas in the Old South, truly a very merry custom of Christmas.
Get fit for the new year. Feel better, look better. Get in shape for skiing and other activities and have fun doing it. Get started right now and join the Albany Athletic Club. Since 1979, the Albany Athletic Club has offered a clean, friendly, safe environment where fitness is fun. Take a class, play racquetball, lift weights, participate in cycling or yoga, or just relax in the sauna or whirlpool. Your children will love the child care facilities. Stop by and learn about the membership special available January only. Don't wait. Join today, Albany Athletic Club in North Albany.
When you look out across the Willamette Valley, you'll see plenty of banking choices. Willamette Community Bank is here to give you an option that's pretty unique, like no other, in fact. Hi, this is Sue Kalina, Relationship Manager. Willamette Community Bank provides an alternative to large national and regional banks by offering customized financial services and local decision-making to benefit local people, local families, and local businesses. How many banks can say that?
Willamette Community Bank, service like no other. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Creating a 211 resource phone line for families to get the help they need. Giving scholarships to children with special needs at Mighty Oaks Children's Therapy Center. Providing dental to low-income children throughout Lynn County. My name is Jim Merriman, and I'm president of Oregon Freeze Dry. We support the United Way because they are making a difference right here in the community where we live and work. Please join me in supporting the United Way of Lynn County. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united.
Home improvement will never be the same once you've heard The Money Pit. Saturday mornings on Smart Talk 1580.
Once again, Sammy Hagar taking us into the second half of our From the Sidelines hour. Wally Ordeman sitting in for Radio Ray. Jerry Boney joins me. Dave Adams running the board, cutting Sammy out. From the Sidelines. Well done. Can't get enough, Sammy. We could do the whole CD if you like. We've been reviewing 2012 and what the top stories over the course of the last 12 months, and but we're going to take a little diversion from that. We've got Craig Terrell from the Seattle Seahawks joining us today. Craig, are you there?
I am here. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you joining us here. We've got some ground to cover here. Turns out the Seattle Seahawks pretty good.
Yeah, they've kind of come a long way since the early part of the year, and now we're looking at a playoff situation, and I don't think anybody in the NFL wants to play the Seahawks right now.
There is no team hotter right now. 4 straight wins and 7-0 at home. Get another home game this weekend. I tell you, this is a scary team right now. Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch, and the rest of the crew, they've got things going on.
Yeah, I don't think anyone expected this team to be where they are as far as, they kind of had the identity early in the year of give Marshawn the ball and let's really be a power team and play great defense and win a few close games. And now here in the last 3 weeks, we've blown opponents out, scoring 50-plus points and putting up 42 points on what was supposed to be the best defense in the NFL and the 49ers. And like you said, there is no team hotter, and they take care of business with the Rams and take it in the playoffs.
Yeah, 49ers took one on the chin and certainly set them back a little bit. I don't think they could have anticipated what they were going to run into with that Seahawks team. How about the crowd? I mean, Seattle has developed quite a reputation there at the stadium for loudness, bringing on the noise, educated crowd. They bring it, and it's really something. It has to have something to do with that 7-0 record at home. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I always tell people the best way if you've never been to a game there, a real high-intensity game, just go to your local airport and stick your head behind a jet engine. That's about as close as you can come to the noise factor that teams have to deal with. And I all joking aside, I really, I played defense in that stadium for 7 years, and during those loudest moments, you are standing in the huddle, face to face with guys, and you're just reading lips because it is that loud. So, imagine a quarterback trying to talk to his receivers and offensive linemen all spread out on the field.
You mentioned playing defense there for 7 years. I've still got you on my fantasy team, Craig. You haven't generated a whole lot of points for me this year.
You might want to deactivate me at this point. I think the dream's over.
Oh, Seahawks 10-5, 7-0 at home, 3-5 on the road. Prospects against the Rams. Tell me what you think this week.
This game could have meant a whole lot, actually. If say they dropped a game to the Niners last week, and this would be the ticket into the playoffs here. But luckily, they have that at least a wild card spot secured, so they know they're going in the postseason. Now, if they can take care of business against what really is a really improved Rams team. I mean, Sam Bradford, their quarterback, is playing his best football of his career, and they have a new coach in Jeff Fisher, who people always ask me, if there's one coach I could play for besides the ones that I did, I always thought Jeff Fisher would be the guy because he's such a motivator and such a player's coach. So he'll have the Rams ready to play, and this is kind of like the Super Bowl for the Rams. They're coming in. This is their postseason. They want to kind of give the Seahawks a glimpse of what to expect next year. So it won't be a cakewalk, but I'm glad it's not the game to get us into the playoffs.
Yeah, remind me of the last matchup. I don't have it right at the tip of my tongue here, the last matchup between these two teams.
They went to St. Louis and lost. They lost to the Rams. It was a real strange game for the Seahawks. It was, it was a low-scoring game. They tried an onside kick that went an unexpected onside kick early in the game that gave the Rams some early points, and they had a special teams error that gave them a touchdown. So they didn't play their best game in St. Louis, and they were ready to play. So, but I think it's a different story in CenturyLink Field. That's kind of where the Seahawks they have a chip on their shoulder when they come home to play. Well,
Rams certainly want to play the role of the spoiler, and the Seahawks would like to just keep things going, no doubt.
Yeah, if San Francisco loses, and then if Minnesota beats Green Bay, the Seahawks could jump up into a home playoff game, or even the number two seed in the NFC and have a bye week. It's crazy enough to think that this was a 500 team not too long ago, and now they could jump as high as the number 2 seed, but it would be really big to grab a home playoff game. If you can remember back a few years when the Saints had to come here and play in CenturyLink for a playoff game, and they had the Beastquake and Marshawn's long run. So that's definitely not a place anybody wants to go play their first playoff.
Well, and you said it. Nobody wants to come in, especially in a playoff atmosphere. Nobody wants to come into CenturyLink and play the Seahawks. Yeah, the defense will be fired up this week. I think Sam Bradford was kind of pretty tricky the first time they played him, but it's the quarterbacks. You just look at the face of quarterbacks. If you're watching the TV copy of the games, just look into Tony Romo's eyes or Aaron Rodgers' eyes when they do the close-ups of them when they're trying to call the plays and trying to get back in the huddle. It's just a look of mass confusion on their face. Well, that's your defensive background right there, looking into the eyes of a quarterback. Absolutely, but striking fear into their eyes. You're intimidating on the radio. I can't imagine what it was like on the field. Hey, we've been talking. I'm going to switch gears on you here a little bit. Tried to give you a little heads up yesterday. We've been talking about top sports moments, bottom sports moments, notable sports moments. Going to give you your opportunity here to give us your top sports moment of 2012 and maybe something negative, maybe your bottom story. Yeah, I've been focusing so much on the Seahawks season this year, so it probably all falls within what they've done so far. For me, the bottom, I think week 1 they went down to Arizona and just looked like
there was a lot of hype for the Seahawks team going into the year, and they went into Arizona, and Arizona really beat them up and kind of pushed them around and played more physical football than they did. So I think that it kind of popped the bubble a little bit that everybody had in the preseason up here, that this team was just going to roll over everybody. So that was kind of the low point, and thankfully things got better. And, the high point for me was probably the game against Green Bay with the blundered replacement referee interception/touchdown, just because nationwide, every news channel was talking about the Seahawks and how they didn't deserve to win, and Green Bay became a bunch of whiners, and it was kind of a nice redemption from a few years back in the Super Bowl when the calls went against us, and finally one went for the Seahawks this time.
Oh man, that's outstanding. Every time that comes back to mind, and just that whole scenario. But how cool is it that the Seahawks continued to win? It wasn't a situation where they got their one of 3 wins on the season because of maybe a bad call or whatever the case may be. So they certainly have validated anything over the course of the season.
They have. They're a young team, and they've been coached well, and they kind of only know one way, and that's the way they're playing right now. So that's an exciting thing, because they're not a team that's going to just fall off 1 week. They're either going to go full go. It's going to be interesting to see when they're in a tight game now, if how they respond to that kind of situation. But so far, in the last few weeks, they're rolling through people. So that would be the best way to do it in the playoffs too.
Well, Craig, once we sign off today at the top of the hour, I'm headed your way. I'm headed to Seattle, going to join some college buddies up there and watch the Beavers in the Alamo Bowl, a bunch of Oregon State alums. And so we're going to come up there and park ourselves somewhere and watch maybe an adult beverage or two and watch the Beavs. Just a heads up, we're bunking at your place.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, we'll leave the back door open.
Okay.
We'll leave the light on for you.
Very good.
Give us a call, get a ride, be safe.
Yeah. What's that address again?
Yeah, I think it's in the book. Let's look it up.
Hey, Craig, very, very much appreciate you coming on with us. And my guess is that Ray is gonna want to do this again next Friday. We really do enjoy talking with you. Our listeners love having you on too, and we'll look forward to talking with you again.
I look forward to it every week, guys. You have a great weekend.
All right, thanks, Craig.
All right, take care.
Craig Terrell, the Seattle Seahawks, joining us, and about time for a break here. I think we'll go ahead and go to a break, and when we come back, Jerry and I will share our own top stories and bottom stories, possibly, over the course of 2012. We'll be right back.
The Osgood File. This is Charles Osgood. Doctors in Israel have come up with a device that can detect the early signs of a stroke coming on. If you're at high risk of a stroke, you could wear this $200 portable device on your head. It monitors brain waves and uses an algorithm to detect any discrepancy in those waves, well before any other more dramatic symptoms appear. Professor Nathan Bornstein, Vice President of the World Stroke Organization, says it can be a lifesaver.
This is a very innovative device to prevent stroke and to identify the signs and symptoms and signals of disturbances in blood flow to the brain, which in this case we can act immediately.
The story after this.
Some nights I can't get to sleep. Some nights I can't stay asleep. With Unisom, I can do both.
Unisom sleep tabs are clinically proven to help you fall asleep 33% faster and keep you asleep longer, so you get a more restful night's sleep. Made with an ingredient not found in other leading sleep aids, Unisom sleep tabs are safe and non-habit forming. Just one pill takes the uncertainty out of bedtime, giving you the sleep you need.
So I wake up ready to go.
Unisom sleep tabs. Fall asleep faster. Sleep longer.
Geico says, let's make life simpler.
You need to buy something, but you don't want to make a mistake. So what do? Scour the web? Collect sales circulars? Ask your brother-in-law? How about this? When it comes to car insurance, Geico has a 97% customer satisfaction rating. I repeat, 97%. So make it simple. Just ask a friend who has Geico. Then click or call. You could make it 98%.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
The first signs of an imminent stroke aren't always detectable. That's where this new, inexpensive device comes in. It was developed by an Israeli startup company called NeuroKeeper. CEO Shebar Haim says it's designed for use in hospitals or even at home.
Our device detects automatically a stroke event and alerts either in the home environment the patient himself or his family, or in the hospital environment the medical staff, of a potential ischemic attack, and allows the patients to get to the hospital early and get treated early.
If not treated quickly, survivors often have to undergo years of therapy to regain brain function that's lost in a stroke. Professor Bornstein.
In very high-risk subgroup of patients, it will be a breakthrough device that may help us, the physician, as well as the patient, of course, to identify all these unnecessary events.
Neurokeeper plans a large-scale clinical trial. If that's successful, they say it could be licensed within 2 years. The Osgood File. This is Charles Osgood on the CBS Radio Network.
You will always get your money's worth, and the food is fresh, original, and tasty at Ixtapa Family Mexican Restaurant in Lebanon. Their fresh Mexican cuisine can be enjoyed in their colorful new restaurant on the same convenient corner. Fun? Yes. Large portions? Yes. Affordable? Yes. Visit them for lunch or dinner, where the parking is convenient and the atmosphere is sweet. Drop in for their daily $3 drink special. Enjoy Ixtapa Family Mexican Restaurant today at 25 North Main in Lebanon.
The highly acclaimed and internationally famous men's a cappella choral group from Yale University is coming to Albany for one concert. The name of the group? Spizwinks?
Ever since I was a young boy, I played that silver ball from Soho down to Brighton. I must have...
Since 1913, the Spizwinks have shown the world that a bunch of college guys sporting sweet harmonies and a strange name are a winning combination. It's a fundraiser for the South Albany High School choirs, sponsored by KGAL and KShow Radio. Tickets available now at South Albany High School, online through KGAL.com or KShow.net. Remaining tickets available at the door. Don't miss this rare opportunity to see and hear the Spizwinks in person. It'll be memorable and great fun, and you'll help out the South Albany High School choral program. The Spizwinks from Yale University, live and in person, Wednesday, January 9th, 7 p.m., Russell Tripp Performance Center, LBCC in Albany.
Science and Common Sense. Dr. Bill Wattenberg will surprise you Sunday nights live on Smart Talk 1580.
And we are back. Thank you, Sammy Hagar. Dreams. Kind of not really the theme, but it's how we open today. But Sammy Hagar taking us into our last couple segments here of the show. From the Sidelines, Radio Ray on vacation. Wally Ordeman here with Jerry Bomey. Dave Adams, thank you, on the board. And going to throw it to Dave Adams for some information about Quiznos.
Yeah, Valley Talk on KGAL Radio. Quiznos in Albany is one of the fine sponsors of Valley Talk. And what we do is we give away a $10 gift certificate every day during the Valley Talk show. And what you have to do is just to email me, email me an entry. I have a hard time talking today. I guess I've been off mic for too many hours.
And that email is?
Dave@KGAL.com. Just send me an email, and you can also call the station at 926-KGAL or 451-KGAL. Put Quiznos Taste on Us on the subject line, and Jerry Bomey is madly texting. You have to email Quiznos Taste on Us on the subject line. Send it to Dave@KGAL.com. At the end of the show, we're going to pull some names out of the hat, and that winner will get a returned email, Jerry, from us, or a return phone call, and you get a $10 gift certificate from Quiznos in Albany, and that is good for chips, drinks, whatever you want. Just take your pick, have a day on us, taste on us at Quiznos. Thank you for Dale and the crew for participating in Valley Talk here on KGAL.
Outstanding. And before I hit the road for Seattle, might go by Quiznos and grab. Can I win that first?
So you heard it on KGAL.
I will say I heard it right here
from the Sidelines.
Excellent.
Right after Sammy Hagar.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, right back into it, talking about 2012 and a little bit of a review of the sports. Jerry, you brought up a great point from when we were off the air and during that break, talking about omissions from that list. Now, we knew that list was not complete. It was the top 10, and that was the AP poll. There are some things on the CBS poll. We won't have time to get through all that, but you talked about some omissions, and I thought that there were some really glaring ones, as did you, and name a couple.
Well, Yeah, I went with a little different spin on my list. I went with the best and the worst, and the top of my worst list was the NHL lockout. I knew that this was going to hit you hard, and
Such a fan.
with no hockey so far to be played on. I don't know, NBC Sports or whatever station it's on, those guys have to be getting hungry about now.
Ice hockey are us.
That is it. But the Ryder Cup collapse, that's in sports. That's a monumental gag. There's just no other way to put it. The American team had them going into the last day, and
in what seemed like an unsurmountable lead.
Absolutely, and just fell apart, literally. And they sent the cup back across the pond.
Yes.
But how about Miguel Cabrera? Triple Crown winner, first time in 45 years that they've had one. And we talked about, King Felix getting a perfect game and everybody excited about that. And that happens every, 2-3 years. There's a perfect game. Right. Triple Crown, first time in 45 years.
Well, isn't that something? Got any others?
Oh, absolutely. You went through the NFL, but there was no talk about the rookie quarterbacks. And usually it's a 4 or 5 year sit for those quarterbacks coming into the NFL. You had 3, 4, 5 rookie quarterbacks this year that really made a splash with RG3, Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson, who's really been playing well. We talked about the Seahawks earlier, but he's really kind of led that offensive resurgence up there. And, it's Nick Foles is now playing in Philadelphia, right. and Tannehill's playing in Miami. Amazing that many rookie quarterbacks are having that kind of success.
Yeah, and some of that has to do with injury and being pressed into duty. Some of that, they started out the year as the starters, and Russell Wilson wins the job when they thought that his name from Green Bay coming was the backup to Aaron Rodgers. It's not coming to him. We talked about it last week too. Anyway, everybody thought he'd be the starter. Russell Wilson wins that job and keeps it throughout the course of the season. RG3, Andrew Luck, you knew they'd be named the starters. Not as many rookies carrying the clipboard as it used to be.
No, they're being thrown to the wolves, and I think that could perhaps be the new trend with the more athletic professional quarterback. These aren't guys that just run the ball. They are kind of the Michael Vick that can throw. And it's really kind of changing the shape and the way that teams are playing in the NFL.
Michael Vick was drafted by yours truly on his fantasy team by a third of the way through the season, had traded him away. He's not a runner anymore.
That's a fabulous trade.
Yes, it was.
I just don't think you should have activated me. Yeah. I think that, and then I also had a couple of local ones. The West Albany girls volleyball team winning the state title.
You bet.
That was a fabulous effort. They beat a number of 6A teams all year long. Matter of fact, I think they only had one loss all year, if I'm not mistaken.
To Jesuit, who ultimately won the 6A title.
Yes, and just a great effort by them. One of the best things that happened was Bryce Erickson coming to South Albany and being the football coach there. One of the worst things that happened was Bryce Erickson being at South Albany as the football coach there. Was hoping he could at least make it a semester, but apparently high school was pretty tough for him.
Yeah, and has moved on now. Is it Idaho State?
Idaho.
To Idaho, where he will be an assistant coach there. And that was actually, I didn't put that one down. It was one that I was hoping you would go there because it's just the irony of that. And I know the whole community. I was going to say the South Albany community, but the whole community excited about having Bryce Erickson in town and what he could bring to the South Albany football program, and disappointing that it was short-lived, and I wish him well, but moving
kind
on.
Kind of a heredity thing.
Yeah.
That Leghorn tree thing.
I was going to go with the apple doesn't fall too far, but I just chose not to, but I guess I just did. So, oh man, my list a little shorter, and maybe those were omissions, and certainly some things that you mentioned relevant that you had thought. I had a couple on my list as well, but probably toward the top, watching grandson Jackson in his first year at T-ball.
Well, it doesn't get absolutely any better than that for a grandparent.
Or less competitive.
and by about the fourth game, you'll wonder how your parents ever sat through those for you.
Isn't that right? Well, when we played, we kept score. and you could get out at first base. And
not so much anymore.
Those dynamics have changed a little bit, but sure, fun to watch. And when you've got 5-year-olds running out there with mitts that are too big and hitting off the tee and running around, running the bases, head first slides into home.
The thing that I always think is important is the way that they replant the daisies in the outfield every year, so those kids have something to pick.
Oh man, we've got some classic pictures. Oh, that's perfect. Oh man, might need to go to a break now. No, we won't. We'll keep it here a few more minutes here. Certainly, that's in my top 5. The Olympics we've already covered. I just had so much fun with the Olympics this year. The Beaver resurgence is on my list, and going from 3-9 to now ultimately playing for an Alamo Bowl title. Just unbelievable to me. You weren't here for the show where I said I was going to have trouble at the beginning of the season, where I was going to have trouble looking at the schedule and finding 3 wins for this Beaver team, and had to come on after the Wisconsin win and eat a little bit of crow. And no doubt, I'm glad that I had to do that. They've turned it around.
Actually, I was here that Friday before the Wisconsin game, and we talked a little bit about it. And you were struggling, and I thought, that's going to be a better game than people thought. I also didn't have the Beavers in the win column there, but you were a little bit more negative towards them at that time, and once again, I say it every time I'm on here. Chemistry is so important, and there's a lot of teams with better talent out there than the Beavs, but they certainly seem to enjoy being around each other and playing for each other.
Yeah, and in an environment that's very difficult to recruit to Corvallis. And if anybody had any question as to whether Mike Riley could coach a football team, that has been dispelled. Mike Riley can just flat out coach.
I agree with that. And one of the things I read in the paper this morning was the reason that this reporter thought was that Riley started calling plays again this year after having a 2 or 3 year absence, and which gets back to he can coach football.
Yep, no doubt, and has assistant coaches that have been around him a long time. There's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of chemistry there. Those players have bought in to what Mike Riley is selling, no question. The last thing on my list is one that came to me last night. It's because I had a text exchange with this young man, and that's Will Murphy at Oregon. And being a walk-on, it's his senior season. They gave him a scholarship for his senior season here, and certainly has made the most of it, worked his way into the starting lineup. And West Albany alum Will Murphy, our listeners will remember, and had a little bit of an exchange last night. He's down for the Fiesta Bowl, and so certainly Will Murphy, a top 5er for me as far as sports items over the course of the year, watching his success down at Oregon.
Well, the perseverance of Will is unbelievable. There's a lot of people that would have checked out a number of times over the last 5 years that he's been there. He kept after it, scholarship, and now starting for arguably as good a team as there is in the nation.
Yep, no doubt about it. Going to be a lot of fun to watch that game. That's going to be a great football game. I'm predicting a Duck win.
I'm thinking out of all the BCS games, that might be the only one worth watching.
We're gonna review some Pac-12 bowl games here after we come back from this break. We're from the Sidelines on 1580 KGAL. We'll be right back.
Willamette Valley Rehabilitation Center wishes you and your loved ones a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and would like to remind you that the holiday season is one of the deadliest times of the year for alcohol-related crashes. Willamette Valley Rehabilitation Center asks you to plan a designated driver, take a cab, or just spend the night. Willamette Valley Rehab in Lebanon invites you to stop by and visit, and wishes you and your loved ones a Merry Christmas and a safe and happy New Year.
Jay Farner here from Quicken Loans. We get a lot of tweets from folks that sound just like this. Jay, I bought my home in 2007. Since then, it's gone down in value. Now I owe more on my mortgage than my home is worth. Can I refinance? The answer may very well be yes. Recently, the government announced changes that may allow folks to refinance even if their home has lost value. For example, if you owe $300,000 on your mortgage, but your home's only worth $150,000, Quicken Loans may still be able to help you. Or if your current mortgage rate is higher than 3.99%, you've got to give us a call today at 800-QUICKEN. And for 3 years in a row now, J.D. Power & Associates has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. So, if your current mortgage is higher than 3.99%, or if you owe more than your home is worth, call Quicken Loans today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com.
For J.D. Power & Associates award information, visit jdpower.com. Important terms and conditions apply. Calls for cost information. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states and MLS number 3030.
They're motivational and inspirational.
Stories that make you ask yourself, now, why didn't I think of that?
I'm Greg Anestis.
I'm Bob Smith.
Hear how everyday people came up with the ideas
that launched million-dollar businesses.
Why didn't I think of that?
Monday through Friday on KGAL.
We know all about running with ideas in Lebanon. That's why the Lebanon Chamber of Commerce is a proud sponsor of your program. Why didn't I think of that? Spread the word and tune in every weekday morning at 6:40 on KGAL. You'll be inspired by some amazing business success stories.
It's the holidays, and not only are you running like crazy from morning to night, you're going home to leftover turkey or grabbing fast food on the run. That's no way to be merry. Tonight, relax and come to Novak's. Enjoy a home-cooked dinner and catch your breath. We've got a fabulously priced all-you-can-eat buffet Monday through Thursday nights, or just order off the menu. Let Novak's put the jolly back in your holiday dinner. And make your reservations now for Novak's New Year's Eve Holiday Buffet Extravaganza. We'll have an amazing assortment of appetizers and salads, house-made breads, all your Novak's favorites, plus prime rib, bubbly, and of course, incredible pastries and desserts, all for only $19.95. It's a happy holiday at Novak's.
The Morning Update, weekday mornings on News Talk 1580, KGAL.
Sammy Hagar finishing us off here as we get to the close of the hour here. Jerry, just real quickly here, we've covered a lot of ground today. Want to talk about the Pac-12 in the bowl season here, just to finish things off. We have Arizona State, who led things off for the Pac-12 in this bowl season. I think there's like 87 bowl games now, and we certainly can't name them all. But Arizona, they win a wild one against Nevada. Washington loses a tough one to Boise State. That was the other night. Did you get to see either of those?
I actually saw pieces of both of those, and actually very entertaining.
No doubt, and certainly that West Coast football. A lot of points generated, a lot of excitement in those football games. Washington comes up on the short end there, but Arizona gets the Pac-12 off with a win. Washington loses. UCLA last night. Did you see any of that abomination?
Did UCLA actually play last night? I didn't.
Man,
didn't see them because I'll tell you what,
was brutal. and Baylor brought it, and they were up 35 to 10 at the half, I think, or
35-7.
35-7.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Got a late field goal there. There was a good move going for a field goal. You're down by like 80, and you kick a field goal. That made a whole lot of sense to me. And then opened the second half with getting another field goal. And I don't even know what that final was. I was so bored watching that game.
Oh, I turned it off. I couldn't watch it. By the time they kicked two back-to-back field goals, being down by 40, you wonder what Jim Moore is thinking. You're not going to sneak into it. It's like trading field goals for touchdowns when you play the Ducks. Oh, maybe I'll catch up to him. The math isn't there.
Speaks to the North versus the South in the Pac-12 this year, and the UCLA played in the Pac-12 championship back-to-back weeks against Stanford, losing both of those games. UCLA, though, finishes their season with 3 straight losses, and 2 to Stanford and 1 yesterday to Baylor. And so we are wrapping it up. I'm just going to review UCLA whooped by Baylor. We know that. USC, Georgia Tech coming up. Stanford, Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl, Arizona State, and Navy. I think the Pac-12 goes 4-4 the rest of the way. Jerry, I want to thank you for being on with us here. We've got to wrap things up, and really appreciate you being on. This is From the Sidelines, and we're going to say see ya.
Mid-Valley home of Smart Talk. This is News Talk 1580 KGAL, Lebanon, Albany, Corvallis.